Hello, busy professionals, and welcome to episode number 31 of the You Deserve a Luxury Vacation podcast. In this episode, we talk with one of the few Black travel journalists, Brian Major, and we discuss how has Black travel changed. We're going to get into everything from where it's been and where we think it will go. So make sure you take a listen. Welcome. You're listening to the You Deserve a Luxury Vacation podcast, where I provide valuable information to help busy professionals plan their next luxury vacation. I'm your host, BELVIN Baldwin II. So let the planning begin. Well, welcome to the You Deserve a Luxury Vacation podcast. I am happy to welcome to the podcast Brian Majors. Brian, I'm glad you're able to join. How are you doing?
I am doing terrific, Belvin. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Great. I mean, I follow your work and I wanted to kind of introduce you. And as our topic is, how has Black travel changed? And I just want to get a perspective from you because you're in the industry as well, but you're from a journalistic point of view. So kind of give my audience a background. Where were you born? Where were you raised?
Born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, where I live today.
Okay. Brooklyn in the house. Okay. Got it. So how did you get into journalism and especially the niche travel?
I started in the 1990s and, I was a professional journalist already, freelancing, working for different newspapers here in New York, really as a freelance general assignment news reporter. Mm-hmm. And one of my colleagues told me about a trade publication that was looking for editors. I didn't have a full-time job at that time, and it was in travel. Go up to the place, and I interviewed with the editor. He liked my, stuff. And he says to me, we have a magazine that covers the travel industry, different departments. You'd be a cruise editor. This position is cruise editor. You take a cruise every month or so. I kind of looked at him like, huh? We've all heard of Condé Nast. We've all heard of Travel and Leisure, but I didn't really know anybody did this for a profession. So long story short, I started there as a cruise editor in the 90s. Great time to start because the cruise industry was really ramping up. It was becoming what it is today. Back then, it was really a travel niche. So I was able to write about travel. This stuff was all for travel advisors. So I was able to write about travel, go on some press trips, experience cruises, learn about the cruise industry, learn about how cruises are sold, who goes on vacations, who goes on cruises, and then compare cruises to land vacations. So it was a great way to start. That's how I got involved.
That's great to know, especially starting off in the 90s. I think that's where you started seeing kind of in that age where a lot more leisure travel kind of started. I go back to a time where in Black history, just seeing when we traveled, it was usually to a family reunion. It wasn't really, just a long vacation. It was going to see Big Mama down south or something like that. It was something to that nature. So in your experience, what have you seen as far as Black travel? How has it changed since you've been covering it?
Well, Belvin, from a personal perspective, because I'm a Black person, and then, now I'm a journalist, able to see it from both perspectives. And what you say is 100% accurate. When I was starting out, it really was when I would say Black folks were really getting into the swing of taking vacations in the mainstream vacations that people are now, that they are so eager to take these days. Cruises and all-inclusive resort vacations and travel to international destinations. When I was starting out, that really was not happening as much. The model for the Black traveler was, as you're saying, more of the family vacation, the drive vacation, the domestic vacation. As we both know, that stems from a couple of things, certainly from how vacations are marketed to Black people, then also, maybe economic circumstances, although Black travelers, research has indicated, has shown that Black people have a substantial buying power, 140
I want to get into that.
140 billion in 2019 travel purchases. I was saying that Black travelers have also, historically, we are used to being all of us who are Black in America are used to being in discriminatory environments. So Black travelers are conscious of that and aware of that. And I think that in the past that had limited our travel choices. There was a need for a green book in the day when it came out, the Negro Motors Green Book. And as time went on, maybe between then and the 80s, there was a void in what Black travelers could do. But now in the 90s, when I was starting out, yeah, we're starting to see more of that. But certainly today, this is where we're actually seeing some outreach and marketing to Black people and true consideration of our vacation desires on the part of travel suppliers. We didn't even have that even in the 90s.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I've seen it grow. When we were traveling, of course, probably with our parents and grandparents, even before that. I mean, you couldn't travel to certain places, and that's where the Green Book was there for. And then you really wanted to go see your family. You couldn't trust anybody. I mean, even if you're driving on the highway, you can get pulled over for nothing. And we all had family, even though I know you stated you're in Brooklyn. I'm originally from Ohio. So we were in the North, but you still had family in the South, and you had to come back and see them and vice versa. So it was, and you didn't have indispensable income, you just didn't have the extra income to travel. So as for me, my first flight wasn't until I was 20 years old. So my first flight, I didn't even take a flight to 20 years old. And I was kind of even taking at 20, a lot of my friends and family never took a flight.
Right.
It's like what you stated. We're at a point now, and I really enjoy this new look of Black travel because it's inspiring. I mean, people are everywhere, which opens the door for more people to expand their travel. For example, I mean, it was pretty much big if you went to Florida from the north. I remember just seeing the ocean for the first time. And now we're expanding. We're all over. What have you seen specifically that kind of surprised you now when it comes to travel, to Black travel?
Great question. You know what surprised me, Belvin, in the last 2 years? Two things. I won't say surprise, but it's something that I have to say is a phenomenon. It is a driver now of travel. It's social media.
Yeah.
And maybe even Instagram specifically has exploded. It lends itself tremendously to travel. It inspires people's travel desires and it gives them aspirational targets. I mean, it shows them what's possible and people feel like they can experience. And then the second thing is the number of Black travel influencers, the diversity and the richness of, I found you through, we connected through social media. You're a luxury travel advisor, a Black luxury travel advisor, which is a great thing. And I know a couple of other Black luxury travel advisors, but we had this Trav Media Corporation. I'm going to give them a little plug. Trav Media Corporation sponsored a travel conference just wrapped up here in New York, International Media Marketplace. And I met some great travel influencers, Black travel influencers, one who was a diver and she owned some real estate in Newark and she was able to take a break from working and go diving. And then she became posting about it, and now she's become an advisor. Right. Some others who are experts who have worked for trade publications like The Points Guy. I know Vicky Novitsky, I think is her last name. I'm going to get this right before this is over. But just a rich group of Black folks who are doing exactly what you said. They are going everywhere, doing everything. They are in different parts of Africa. They are in Southeast Asia. They are in Black folks love Dubai. They love the Middle East. They are in the Far East. So there's no place they don't go. There's nothing they don't do. There's a great Rollin on Faith, or Rollin on FAITH, is a brother who was a Division I athlete who was paralyzed.
Okay.
And he is paralyzed from the waist down, and he has become a traveler and an advocate for disabled travel. He is a terrific brother, and he's inspiring. So, there's just so many people, Black folks now, traveling and doing things that I wouldn't have dreamed that this would happen. So I'm inspired by that.
You are right. I'm a travel advisor, but when I came into this industry, a lot of it was mass commercial vacations. You're probably doing everything that everybody else is doing. And then social media and the travel influencers, they push the button. which allowed me to push the button and say, okay, I'm inspired. This person just went to Dubai. Well, 10 years ago or whatever, you wouldn't even thought about that. You were thinking, oh man, it's in the middle of the Middle East. What are you going to do?
Yeah, to explain to them where it is even.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of people went to Dubai on the first time because of a glitch in the system. And they actually got flights there for like $200, $300. And if you talk to a variety of travel influencers, they did that. And they took that leap of faith and said, hey, we're going to go there. And from there, Dubai has grown and grown and grown for us. I mean, it's been there, but it's grown and grown for us, for Black people. But I see, just like you said, I've seen people in Antarctica, all parts of Africa now, Tanzania and everything. But it's funny now because I just left Ghana and talking to the generation before me about my trip to Ghana, you would think that I was going to the moon or something like that. They could, what? Where are you doing? You're going to Africa? Or and it's the perception that a lot of people of an older generation who, I can't blame them. They haven't traveled before. And some of them still haven't been on a flight unless it was on, wartime or something like that. They can't even fathom what I'm showing them, because one time I actually just said, hey, I just showed them downtown, downtown city. And I said, this is Africa. No. I'm like, this is Africa, because what you're seeing in the media is something totally different. They may show you something different, but this is what it is. So, yes. So with that,
I would tell our Black folks who have not, I've encountered those people too. I know what you're talking about. There's a generation and a culture of Black people who haven't experienced those connections. But what I would tell them is that they've been raised in a country where everybody who is in a position of authority is white for the most part. They will see what we're talking about when they go to a country where the banks are run by Black people and all of the institutions are run by Black people, and they have sophisticated downtowns, as you would see in Nashville, Tennessee, or you would see in New York, or you would see in San Francisco with public parks and, and restaurant rows and, and that kind of thing. And every face you see is Black. So it's something that they need to learn. And again, the marketing, we've seen the images that have been presented to us and not the genuine images.
I think you're right. I know you're right. It's the programming. You almost have to unprogram yourself. And that's what I like about how social media has helped and inspired. And you're right. I was looking at that study. Black Americans spent $63 billion on travel in 2018. 2019, it almost doubled. It went up to $109 billion. And that's an independent study. That's not just somebody surveying.
If we draw that out a little bit, let's tie that to the racial reckoning, right? And let's say some travel companies responded and marketed to Black people as a result of that. And look what happened.
Right.
Look what happened.
I know.
So what else is out there? What else are they?
It's funny because when I was in this travel advisor industry, I'm a Black luxury travel advisor. You don't see too many of them. And I had to break away from the mold. And I had to actually talk to a mentor, one of my Black mentors, Claire, who's in the luxury travel industry, and breaking that mold from just being in the mass market selling where they just sell you the $199 trip and things like that. And when I started talking to Black professionals and stating, this is out there for you, they have never even seen or heard of some of these places. And I'm trying to talk to travel suppliers to say, you probably want to change your brochure to some type of diversity, because there's people out there that have the means to go to these places, but you're not marketing to them. And, we have to change that.
That's what it is. I couldn't agree with you more. It's the marketing and the presentation on the part of the travel suppliers. I mean, it's like any other business. They're the ones out there trying to be competitive, get your travel dollar, make you select a vacation versus any other, nobody needs a vacation. It's a leisure travel decision. So, you're going to have to market it and go out there and outreach to customers and show them why they want to select your vacation, versus any other. And for Black folks, we need that layer of comfort because of our our past and of people discriminating against us and us feeling like, oh, they treat me this way because I'm Black. And I had this conversation with my wife often. One of the worst parts of this kind of racism and discrimination is you don't always know, like when you went to Curacao, did they do this to me because I'm Black?
Yeah, right. You have to question, you question.
Right. So who wants that? You want to go on vacation like everybody. We want to go on vacation, have fun, have a good time, enjoy yourself and have a good time. And I think one other thing I should bring out that I remember from that study is that it pointed out that Black people, and you could probably speak to this more than me, Black people are more than average are likely to purchase a extension of or a tour as part of their visit to a city or to a destination. They are much more likely to do cultural kind of exploration in a destination.
Right. You're totally right. And that's why I had to talk to some of the vendors when they talk about selling Africa. And I said, it's not that we don't want to see a safari, but safari is not the main reason we as Black people go to Africa. We can see a lion in the zoo, we could probably, of course, we'd like to see it in its own habitat and everything, but It's the culture. It's a different type of sale. And that's what you have to tell these suppliers. I'm not going to sell you on seeing the big game 5. That's not how you sell or, market to Black people.
Yeah.
You have to find the culture. What does it mean to them? It's a connection that they're looking for when they go to Africa. It's not just sitting in a Jeep looking for a giraffe to come by. I mean, that's great for others, but not for Black people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So speaking of that, so you spent time in the Caribbean, of course, dealing with the cruises. And I'm talking to a lot of tourism boards and things, and whoever wants to reach out to me as well. But I'm talking to a lot of tourism boards because I want to put a connection between the Black community in the United States and some of the Black culture in the Caribbean. What have you seen that some may have missed or may not know that are on the different islands in the Caribbean?
That is another tremendous question. I'm glad you said that. It's funny because I was just having a conversation before you, like everybody, I'm doing 2 or 3 Zooms a day. Before this.
I know you're a busy man.
So are you, brother. I know. Before this, I was talking to the president of Nevis Sun Tours. He runs his name is Greg Phillip. He is a former Nevis Tourism Authority CEO. He runs a tourism company now in Nevis. And we were talking about marketing to African Americans, the Caribbean, to African Americans specifically. And we were talking about the connections of culture and the connections to what Black people want to see in the Caribbean. And, we have so many hidden things that, again, are not marketed. When we go to, let's say, to Cottle Church in Nevis, this is a historic church, which was the first church in the Caribbean that allowed integrated services between Black colonial people and slaves who lived on the island of Nevis, and enslaved people and free Black people on Nevis. This was a church that recognizes and that signifies the beginning of the resistance to slavery and the resistance to the end of slavery in the Caribbean anyway. And then ultimately in the U.S., there's Martinique has a place called Le Savane des Esclaves, which is a modern day agricultural farm. You can take tours there, but it also has a museum that has a frank display of slavery and the history of slavery in the Caribbean and in Martinique, and the post-slavery transition of the people, the Black people, the formerly enslaved people there who built an agricultural based economy. He has a farm there, which produces for the local community. It is the #1 most popular tour in Martinique. So it is magnificent. If you go to Bermuda, which also is doing a real good job of marketing to Black people and to Black travel organizations and the Black travelers, there is a whole culture of Black community in St. George, which is not, when you think of Bermuda, you think of the beautiful pink houses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right. And the luxury element, which is certainly there, the golf courses, which is certainly there. But also there's a great history of Black folks, and many of them who left the United States during the Revolutionary War, not wanting to be involved they were given grants by the British to go to Bermuda rather than to fight against British forces in the Revolutionary War. So there's a whole culture of Black folks in Bermuda around the town of St. George. And right now, Black restaurants and purveyors who help share that culture. And you can buy some tours and connect with the Bermuda Tourism Authority to find out how to evolve that. There's a lot of Black culture that Black folks will want to see and want to experience in the Caribbean. But I mean, just like other travel marketers, the travel tourism boards in the Caribbean, I think are just now reaching out. We were talking about this guy, Greg and I, reaching out now to Black Americans. So again, this flowering has to happen. We need more of this, and, it's starting to happen.
It's great you say that, because it's funny because we've been talking to the same people. I just had a conversation with Greg.
Oh, okay, right. There we go. See? Yeah.
There we go. Yes. It seems like the communication is starting to work, because I was pointing out the same exact things. I said, it's the way we have to market to Black America. It's different from just the generalistic things. Yes, you can have sun, you can have ocean, you can have beach, but you have to have a meaning that comes from the soul of why I need to be here and what significance it has.
Yep. And there are connections for almost all of us Black folks. There are connections somewhere in the Caribbean. Our people came from there. We went there. We went through there.
Yes.
We have this common experience. We have stories that are not told. Like this place in Martinique, slave revolts. There were, there were many slave revolts in the Caribbean. Yeah. People don't talk about that in the United States, but there were many. This was one of the biggest fears of colonial people.
Right. And the only one you probably heard of as a slave result is Haiti, but it was multiple ones throughout the Caribbean. And then a lot of people feel that slaves were, a lot of them stopped in the Caribbean and South America. In fact, more in South America than the United States. When you travel, it opens up the world to you, and you stop living by someone else's narrative, per se. And if you stay put, you're going to hear the same narrative every time. But when you travel and you start learning about your culture, your history, other people's culture and history as well. But I'm going to tell you one thing else, too. I want to push to a lot of Black Americans as you travel and as we continue to grow and how travel has changed here, is to see Black ownership and how we can support Black resorts, Black businesses when you travel, and vice versa. So we already talked about Sun Tours and, some of the tourism, but is there any Black businesses that you've seen or heard about in your travels?
Well, I know there are some really good Black travel advisors like yourself that travelers should be patronizing for number one, certainly. But then when you come to talk about Black travel around the United States, there's a group called the Black Travel Alliance, blacktravelalliance.com.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Marty, the owner, Martin. Yep.
Right. They can lead to some of the organizations around the country. And there's a great online resource, and it's a magazine, it's a media company, Travel Noir, NOIRE.com, which recently did a listing of top Black travel companies. Right. Companies that are run and organized by Black people. There are Black resorts. There's a Black resort owner who now owns the Half Moon Resort in Jamaica, which is the
Sheila Johnson.
There you go.
Yeah,
Sheila Johnson, and she owns one of the finest, which is one of the not only the finest resorts in the Caribbean, it's one of the finest resorts in the world. So, I've stayed there. I can tell you that myself. We have a long way to go. Certainly. Yeah. It mirrors many other industries in that we have maybe a foot in the door now, but we have a long way to go. And there are a lot of successful Black media companies. My son is an editor for a Black enterprise, and I know they're a big media company, and partnerships are a big part of travel. So maybe in the future, we're going to see some of these partnerships get involved in ownership and expand ownership in the travel industry for Black folks.
I'm starting to see a lot of collaboration out there. And I see when I travel as a travel advisor, and shout out to Travel Noir because I was in that top 10.
That's right. Yeah.
So, you're starting to see a lot of collaboration. You were talking about the Black Travel Alliance. I'm a part of that as well. And I like what Marty is doing right there. And I think she even had a book where she stated all the different Black businesses that you can support while you're traveling. And that is something that a lot of Black Americans, when they're traveling, they're looking more for that experience, that culture, that business that they can support. I know that we're working on a few of our group trips that are coming out there, and one of them is we're going to try to have a Black experience or support a Black business throughout our travels.
And let's not forget the U.S., because I understand I read an article about the Lorraine Motel owners who have built, obviously, experience around the assassination of Dr. King. So that's another Black-owned business. There's a lot of domestic Black-owned businesses as well. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Bill.
No. It is another lady. Gosh, I know I'm gonna mess her name up here, but she's based here in Atlanta, and she's a Black she's starting to get people to own hotels.
Right.
So investing in the hotel. So it's a domestic side here. I think I forgot their hashtag, but I'll put it in the notes. But it's definitely something out there for people who even own hotels and be Black owners, but to support those owners of hotels as well. So we're starting to really grow in this hospitality industry. And I really look forward to see what the future brings. But I think it's, as far as we start, collaborating and opening up the doors, I think it's going to be bright when it comes to Black travel in the future. It definitely has changed, from the days of before, but I just think there's so much more potential out there. So in closing, what would you say would be a place that you feel that Black Americans should visit?
Great question. Where would I say is a great place that Black Americans be? There's
so many, but I would say just give me a couple off the top of your head. Nothing. I know you specialize in the Caribbean. I'm not going to say, I know your wife is from Jamaica. I know a lot of people go to Jamaica. A lot of people go to Dominican. A lot of people go to the Bahamas. And nothing against them. They're the majority. But is there something off the beaten path, per se, that you...
I like that question because, the Caribbean has like 28 destinations. There are 28 destinations in the Caribbean. Something off the beaten path. I'm going to give you two. One a little closer than the other. One toward the eastern part of the Caribbean, one toward the west. Toward the east is the British Virgin Islands. The British Virgin Islands is, next door to the USVI, but it offers this kind of really sleepy, kind of quiet place where you fly in and your vacation is really based on three main islands. And you may stay on one island, but there's a great public ferry system, or you can, if you insist on it, and if you want it, you can customize a yacht or spend your vacation on a yacht, going among the little islands, great snorkeling and intimate beaches. And, again, these are Black folks, BB Islanders, as they call themselves, vacationers. They love showing off their country. If you want to relax and just do something different and make a connection with the locals, because you're going to be connected with local culture. It's naturally beautiful place. And there's also the baths, the famous beautiful UNESCO World Heritage Site that is a natural wonder, kind of a beautiful shore area with huge boulders, Instagrammable, you get between the boulders and and the waves are coming in. It's really something naturally beautiful and unique. So good rates, good hotels, and it's close by. Somebody like Belvin can steer you into a tour. And then I want to say, just from the cultural aspect, Belize.
Okay.
Because
I was thinking about that one.
Right. It's such a mix of culture. You got African cultures, African and Caribbean cultures, certainly, of course. Garifuna culture, which is the African culture of African coastal folks who came over to Belize, established their own communities there. They have communities still in Africa, but they have their same African cultural dance and food traditions. They have communities that you can visit, folks that interact with tourists and show off their dance and their creativity. That's great. But it also has Mayan culture. It really was a center. Belize was really the center of the Mayan kingdom, Mayan kingdoms. So there are still beautiful and large archaeological sites with soaring monuments that you can visit in Belize. There's also a jaguar reserve in Belize. There's beautiful nature. There are Mennonite communities, Dutch communities in Belize, if you can believe that. It is a mix of culture. These people all get along together. And when you go from region to region, which is pretty easy, you see different parts from the coastal areas I did an underground river tubing and cave exploration excursion in Belize. Now, I'm a city guy. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Right? I never did.
You got in the water.
Yeah, but man, I got in the water. I dig in a tube, swam through parts, crawl through parts. I mean, playing through a 2-mile cave, man. I mean, we had to come out the other end. You weren't getting back until you got through the whole thing. Man, I'm so glad I did it. It was terrific, man. And so, I mean, and again, this is kind of what us Black folks are now looking forward to. We're not limiting ourselves to those mass market vacations. We're not limiting ourselves to a 3-day cruise or
Thank you.
Nothing wrong with that. But if you want that, but we're not limiting ourselves to 3 days or Disneyland, 2-day, thing like that, something in Florida. Again, nothing wrong with that. We can do anything we want to do and explore anything that inspires us. So, look around.
Exactly. I'm so happy you stated that. And you're right. There's nothing wrong with those things. You're not limited to those. And that's what, I really want the travel industry and the travel market to realize. When you make a little diversity communication and in your marketing, you are in a win-win situation. So thank you for those points. I think I just found that hashtag. It's called a Stay Black Experience. So basically, for those people who are looking for Black hotel owners, that, if you want to stay at their hotels, the Stay Black Experience, I think the guy's name is Omar Head, is one of the people that are helping Black people become owners of hotels. So that's there for people as well. I think we've named a lot of people owners and things of that nature. So this was a great podcast. I really thank you, Brian, for coming in and talking. And I'm pretty sure we're going to talk a little bit more. And I look for the future, of our relationship growing together and learning new things. So thank you for taking the time out to speak to the audience of the You Deserve a Luxury Vacation podcast.
Thank you, Belvin, for having me. Thank you for having me. It's great for us to connect. Like you're saying, this is what's it makes us more powerful. It gives us our own network, and for me and you to associate, we'll be speaking and working together in the future. So I'm just happy to make the connection. And thank you, brother. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Wow, what a great episode. I just want to give a point of clarity because my mind went blank during that interview, and that happens sometimes. But I want to really point out Devon Reeves and the Vaughn Group. She helps African Americans really invest in the hospitality industry. Basically, she's teaching Blacks how to own hotels. So if you want to reach out to her, the Vaughn Group. Another one that I forgot to mention is Martinique Lewis. She has a book called the ABC Travel Green Book. It's a great resource if you're looking to support Black businesses while you travel. Last, if you want to collaborate with me and discuss topics on the You Deserve a Luxury Vacation podcast, please reach out to me. It can be anything from discussing your hotel, your resort, your destination, or whatever you would like to bring to the audience. So feel free to contact me. I'm going to leave my contact information at the end of this episode. So have a great day. Hey, busy professionals. Thank you for listening to the You Deserve a Luxury Vacation podcast. If you like the show, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. This helps other busy professionals like yourself find the podcast. If you want help planning a luxury vacation, please visit showtimetravel.com. Also, you will be able to get more valuable tips and behind-the-scenes footage by following me on social media. You can find me on YouTube under Showtime Travel, LinkedIn under Belvin Baldwin II, Instagram under Showtime Travel, and my personal Luxury Travel by Belvin. Thanks again, and remember, you deserve a luxury vacation.